Hello, and welcome to Week 5, Unit 3 of Application Development for SAP Business by Design. In this unit, we're going to be looking at mashups. Now, we've already built many different screens of our own, extended standard screens. We looked at how to integrate other systems. Now we're going to look at using mashups to be able to bring in data and screens from other systems in another way. So mashups allow us to not only integrate data from other systems, but even screens and views from other systems, and be able to embed them and use them in SAP Business by Design. Now, there's a lot of different standard mashups that are out there that you could go to any screen that's there and be able to go into the key user tool, the administration mode, and you could see what mashups are available for that particular screen, whether it's business information, a map showing some type of address. If you go through the Help Center in SAP Business by Design, it'll talk all about what type of mashups are available and where and how to use them. Now, there's mashup authoring that's available from the front end, and a lot of that is very similar to what we'll see here in the SAP Cloud Application Studio. But there's some other things that we're going to be able to do here as far as being able to create what are called port type packages and mashup bindings. And then we'll also obviously have our content as part of our solution in the SAP Cloud Application Studio. That way we can actually deploy it to other tenants, which if we did something from the front end, we would not be able to do. So we're going to look at a few different types of mashups here, and we're going to build one of them. There's three main types that you might see within the studio itself. There's a URL mashup, an HTML mashup, and a data mashup. Now, a URL mashup, you're actually taking a URL from somewhere, embedding it, and then either showing the result in a screen or showing it in some type of response format that's supported for the URL mashups that are there. So, for example, you may do some type of search through Twitter, I don't know, and get the result back, and you can show it in a kind of conversation format or show something in a graph or a map. An HTML mashup is where you actually embed some kind of HTML code or tell it to point to HTML code to be able to be displayed, and then that would be rendered within your screen as well. And we're going to build that in our scenario today. Last one is a data mashup, where you're actually just getting data from somewhere else and then also showing it in some type of supported format or utilizing that data within another mashup within the application here. So we'll be able to look at all of these and at least discuss them a little bit, and we're going to create an HTML mashup specifically, and we'll see how we can actually utilize data from within our screens that we've created and be able to pass data into our mashup using imports and outports and be able to then use that data within the mashup. Just some examples specifically around what you could do for a mashup or what are common use cases maybe. One that I see a lot is utilizing different screens from SAP ERP within SAP Business by Design. So someone may have a web-enabled screen for a certain transaction or an application they want to display within there, and they could bring that in and be able to embed that within SAP Business by Design. So that way it's part of the process from within their cloud solution, but still being able to work with data in ERP very easily. You also may want to query an external source to pull data back using a URL mashup or even a web service mashup. We haven't talked about those. We'll see those though. And be able to show that response within the application, whether it's something you show within another mashup or you utilize that data in another way. That's something that we commonly see a lot as well. And then even being able to take extension fields from your application and use them in an external application. So for example, maybe you have a LinkedIn ID that you store or some other type of ID on a user within SAP Business by Design, and you want to be able to show a mashup of that external system and pass that user ID to it, and then have it show the profile for that person in that other system as a mashup in SAP Business by Design. It's another very good use case for different customers that are out there. So these are just some examples of what's possible, but let's go ahead and create our own HTML mashup and go through the steps. So I'm logged into the SAP Cloud Application Studio with my development user. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a few different things here. First, I'm going to say new item, and I'm going to say a new port type package. Now, mashup PTP. This is basically what defines what kind of imports, and it stores what imports and outports screens might have, the navigation that's there, etc. For us, we're looking for our object bonus plan, and I'm going to use this so I have a definition of how to pass data into the mashup. The mashup itself will need something behind this, and this is the first step of it, is this PTP file. So let's see, here's our mashup PTP. Let's go ahead and open this up. We're going to need to model that. So I'm going to right click and say, I'm going to go into edit mode first. And now I can right click and say add a port type. We're going to add a second one. This one I'm going to say is the import, and we'll name this one the out port, right? And let's add some parameters here. So I'm going to add a parameter for this one, and we'll rename that in param. And the output we'll make as an out param. Great, we'll save and activate that. So now we have a very simple port type package. Obviously, if my data that I'm passing in and out is a little bit more complex, I could define that here and have a more complex structure. For us, we're just going to be passing one field into our mashup, so this import with this one parameter is going to be sufficient. Now I need to create, if I filter by mashups, a mashup port binding. And this is what's actually going to be used in the mashup when we create it. You'll go ahead and see it in a second here. Let me go ahead and select this. And we'll refresh it. So when we go to create our HTML mashup, it's going to ask where are we, what type of mashup port binding do we want? And there's lots of them in the system. There is many of them in the system that allow us to select for social content, for business content. They kind of help give logical groupings and apply where we can use these port bindings at. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if this comes up. Sometimes it's just a little slow. Go ahead and log out and log back in real quick. And open my solution. There we go. Now I can see it. Let's go ahead and open that. Take a look at this. So this is the mashup port binding we just created, and there we go. Now it's open. I can say that this is a custom mashup port binding. I'm going to say this is social and communication as the category. And I need to select then the actual port binding. So here's my mashup PTP that I created, the port type package. You can see it has an import. If I want, I can also specify an outport. So we'll select that and save and activate it. So now we have to find this. I can actually go ahead and create my mashup, and then once we have our mashup, we can add it to our screen. Let's go back here and create a new item. I'm going to create an HTML mashup this time. And what's going to happen is I'm going to have it pass data from our screen, some type of data, and then have it call a search API. So let's go ahead and add a new item. Go back and we'll say an HTML mashup. Add that. So now it's going to open. I have to be in admin mode. I already have admin mode switched on here, so it didn't ask me, but if I didn't, it would ask for it. So this is another piece of content that requires admin mode, because we're going to be reusing the screens from the front end that we'd see if we were trying to author mashups there. So it's going to ask me here, what's the category, what's the binding, and then some other info, and then I'll be able to put in my HTML code. So we put ours under social and communication, and if I open this up, I should be able to see here's my mashup, my custom mashup port binding. Let's go ahead and instead of saying a URL, we'll give it some HTML code. And I have a code snippet here I'll be able to put in. And basically what we have in this code snippet is a little bit of JavaScript and some HTML code. And basically what's happening is you say when this page loads, call this JavaScript method that is going to first get the import parameter that's passed in. So we're going to take that data that we pass in, whatever it is, and store that. And then we're going to call this a search on the iframe here using Google search actually, and having this incoming data be the query parameter. So that way we can embed this in, and then ideally what the data we're passing into it should be searching for Google, and we should see the result here. I can go ahead and do some previewing here if I want, be able to provide some output data if I want. In this case, we're not going to do any outports. So let's save and close that. And then I'm going to go ahead and I need to obviously embed this into my application somewhere. So let's go ahead and open my quick activity here. And here's my quick activity floor plan. I'm going to need to add another row down here. So let's go ahead and do that. Add another row. And this time I'm going to go to my Configuration Explorer and open up within my folders here. And I should see pipes. Here is my mashup. It's shown under pipes under the mashups. If I look at this, I can see that it's my mashup file. I need to do some binding now to get that data. Now we have in here, I could be able to add a navigation, and this has an import, right, because we added that import and a parameter, but I need some kind of output to pass the data, and I don't have that yet. So let's go ahead and close this. We'll come back to it, and I'm just going to define a simple output here, and I'm going to call this rename, we'll call it name out port. Oh, no space. My bad. Name out port. And it's going to have one parameter. And we'll go ahead and say that we're going to pass the employee. We'll pass the the business partner for description. We'll pass the description. And I'm going to go ahead and select a port type package here. That's the application UI. And use. Actually, I think we can go without. Let's go ahead and just bind this. Now that I have that output, let's go ahead and bind this here. Bind, great, okay. And save and activate. We are good. So now let's go ahead and preview this screen. So I can either just log in from the front end, which we've done a few times, or I can just right-click and preview from my screen from here, and it'll open up the browser, and I'll be able to log in and try it out from this screen specifically. And I want to start with my OWL, right? I don't want to go straight to the quick activity because there's really nothing there. It wouldn't know what to view. So it's just being slow. We'll go ahead and just open the browser for now. Let it be slow and shy for a moment. And I'll log in with my Sales02 user, 02p, and welcome one. And go to bonus plans. And let's go ahead and take Hello World, for example. Go to edit. So now it should show a mashup passing Hello World to it. And it looks like it's trying to refresh. Oh, well, it came in. Now it's having some trouble showing here, and that's probably just a problem with my mashup. But this is where we'd actually see it, and it would come in. So let's go to here, a recap. So we can basically use these mashups to show different data. and be able to, whether it's from using a mashup URL, there's even data service mashups. We're a web service one, so we could call a SOAP or REST-based web service to be able to get some info and bring that back and use that in our mashups. And then we can show either also data mashups where it takes some form of data, whether it's from one of these URL mashups or a web service mashup, and shows it in some format like a map or a graph, or in this case, HTML mashup. So then we can actually give it some HTML code to try and show something. So that's mashups. That's the end of this unit. In the next unit, we will look at forms and form development. Thank you.